Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom and the blessings from the universe. So, anyway, hello, Barry 65 Starlight. Wow, cool beans. Good to see you there. Al, how are you? If I missed anybody, I'm a few minutes late. My fire went out, and I was like, "Dad, gummit, if I sit down here for 30 minutes, I'll just get colder." So I had to relight the fire. Anyway, I hope everyone is doing as well as possible under the circumstances, whatever those circumstances may be. And I wanted to do this. I know you all have heard me talk about the spirits kick me, to do a video or speak on a subject or something like that. And so the title of this show is Excuses, Excuses. And so for the last several days, I've been making excuses why not to do this video about excuses. Okay. So there's sort of a little bit of a paradigm shift in there somewhere. But over the many days and weeks here recently and doing card readings and so forth and reflecting back on the messages that keep coming out of the cards, I was thinking about folks that I know and just observing how are things going on in that their spiritual realm stuff. And I realized that, and first I had to reflect about myself. Okay, let me go there first. I didn't pick on anybody or anything like that, but I had to remember back and I say, well, in life, there's been a lot of times where, like, well, why don't you learn how to do this? Well, there's something here, and the kids are screaming, and well, it's Thursday, and I got big thing to do on Friday or whatever it might be, right? Excuses. And so, probably one of the biggest excuses for our lack of spiritual awareness, if you will, is that we get sidetracked. Okay. And there's a lot to sidetrack you these days. Hey, Jody, how are you? Good to see you. And cheers to you and blessings. Oh, and Merry Christmas to the folks that are over in the Russia area, Ukraine, and so forth in there. To our friends over there who may not hear this, but may, we love you. Merry Christmas to you all. And because it's their Christmas time, where ours was in December. There's a lot of history about that, but I won't go into that. But I will say this: in all the teachings, studies, readings, and everything, as I was in the Catholic Church, I realized that the Orthodox Church is as close as you could get to the original Christ Church. Now it's manipulated by people, but because the Roman Catholic Church broke away from the Byzantine Empire way back in the day. So, uh, you know, in January, and I can't remember. There's a holiday in the Catholic religion that sort of mocks the uh, Orthodox uh, Christmas. But anyway, so it's just interesting how we have been manipulated over the years. Because in my study of Catholicism, I went all the way back to the Orthodox and etc. And they have been manipulating us for a long time. Okay. So people who are just now starting to catch up with that, We have to understand that we are being sidetracked from our spiritual self. Now, y'all know me. I talk about the old days and about the pioneers and such, but let us honestly take that into consideration. Because way back in the day, this time of night and this time of the winter, folks would be huddled up, nestled up inside either a lodge, a teepee, a cabin, a cave. God forbid that they'd be outside. But I've been outside most of today, me and Duggar, and he said waves his paw at y'all, by the way. But that to be outside on an evening and when the dew drops and everything, and to not be in a shelter, but at the same time, I have been camping outside at night, and not quite in the snow, but it was really cold. Okay. It just didn't snow. Well, actually, it did. We did have flurries up there. Yeah, I have camped in the snow, actually, in North Georgia mountains. But the idea, though, that in order to better ourselves spiritually, we really do have to go back to basics. And the folks that I have been keeping an eye on, watching and listening to, they're not taking their own advice. I mean, it's just like, you know, uh, and not to try to poke at Brian, but he pops up every now and again, and I kind of feel like he's in the room. But anyway, that we always wanted to try to find something new or fresh or a different angle to look at something. Whereas some people are going into areas, and a lot of people are listening, but instead of being able to keep their focus on something, every week or two or three, they're being distracted from what their spiritual journey should be. And so they're given another, well, what about this? Now, there's nothing wrong with saying, well, there's Buddhism and Hinduism and Catholicism and all those isms, right? And then there's just the nature. There is just being, that has no ism attached to it. If you wanted to call it anything, it would be naturalism. It would be the native society, okay? But it's without the distractions, all right? Because we have to consider that until the last 150 years, 200 years here, and, before then, Native Americans and folk were plumb happy. You know what I mean? And yeah, they had their little nations wars, but they weren't into the kind of slaughter that, we did to well, not me, but they did to the native peoples, not just here, but everywhere they went to conquer the world, right? So you have to understand that this goes way back, this conquering thing. And that's what they're doing to us now. But also, it's a distraction. Of all the times for us to be, I don't want to say overly focused, but that we should not lose our focus. Okay. We all have things to do and lives to live. And I poured more concrete today and did some things and cut some more firewood and toted it in. My fire's probably going to go out while I'm sitting here, but hey, it is warmer in here. And it really doesn't take much to restart the fire, but I got some wet wood and pulled some up from the swamp. And by the way, my backyard got flooded big time. We are the river, the flood level is at like 15 feet, and it went to 17 feet, almost 18. So we've had a great deal of water down here, and there's a lot of water in the backyard. My kitchen flooded. There was not a lot, but it flooded, and that's one reason why I want to get this damn porch finished. But anyway, I digress from that. But just a little update on that. But the last thing I wanted to do was use the wetter drive back. This has to do with excuses. the last thing I wanted to do was to get out the wet or dry vac to suck up the water that was coming in through my foundation and flooding my kitchen, right? I mean, it rained so bad that water was actually coming back up from into the shower. You know, it's on its own line, but the fact that there was so much water that it filled the drain line and everything and pushed the water back up the drain into the house. Now, to the point though, that's the lowest part of the house. I should have had I messed up when I put the drain in the shower. Let me just put it that way. Uh, I messed up, but I've been living with it all these years, and so far so good. But when you've had almost 5 inches of rain and the ground is sort of really wasn't saturated. But anyway, my excuse is that I don't want to go, suck up that water. Well, let me figure. Well, it's too cold. Well, when actually every time I went into the kitchen to get some coffee, I had to go, I was walking in water and I was like, screw this. Excuse. I don't want to do it now. And I got out and, well, I don't have a filter for the thing. And finally I just said, what am I doing? I'm making excuses, but I'm willing to walk into the kitchen and, stocking feet or whatever, and get wet every time I'm back and forth to the kitchen, being the dog, right? But I wouldn't get out the wet or dry vac. Maybe Pamby excuse. And then I was just like, oh, this is one of them lessons that I kind of sort of chose to teach myself. Oh, why would I make up an excuse for sucking the water up off the floor, walking through well, it might come in some more, Anyway, spiritually, and going back to the pioneers, they didn't have a lot to sidetrack them. Okay. So the spirituality thing was a lot easier to attain because of fewer distractions. Now, this is not an excuse, but it is what people are using as an excuse. Okay. Well, I had to do this, I had to do that. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I'm making spiritual. Are you really? Then how come you keep asking sort of the same question over and over again? And you're not listening, you you're maybe listening, but you're not hearing what's being said. And so it's like in watching chat rooms and things, I lurk around and, just see what's going on. And the interesting thing is that people are searching for the answer when they have passed the answer several times. I mean, it's like, but didn't that, these folks over here ask this question recently? Yeah. Then why are they asking it 3 months later? That, they're not paying attention. But somehow there is an excuse in there. Well, I heard this other thing. Well, I heard somebody else say that, there's this really cool spiritualism thing where you use different terminologies and you create these people using signs and sigils and you become these characters and create these pseudo characters. And why? That's a lot of energy for something that if you just looked at yourself in the mirror and was honest with yourself and quit making up excuses as to why you can't, well, I don't know. I can't, I don't understand this. Well, quit making excuses. Why don't you sit down and stop being distracted and listen to what you've already been told? And I don't mean by me, I mean the universe has already told these people, okay? So this discussion isn't, well, partially, but only because I'm trying to promote the same sort of, spiritual endeavor for everyone. Well, I had to read the Bible. And it's like, well, I thought, 2 months ago, you were like, screw the Bible, but now you're back to the Bible prophecy again. Okay, well, I thought well, the Kabbalah and these people, all right, but now you're reading it again. Ain't nothing wrong with reading the Bible, but it's their frame of mind where before I know I got 2 Bibles sitting over here. I know that through my studies, if I feel obliged to, I will pick up one of those Bibles and I will thumb through it and find a page, and there you go. So I am not against the Bible, but I'm against folks who, like 2 months ago, were off on this little journey over here, and then they have, well, I come back to the Bible and Jesus taught me this. Listen, have you really been paying attention? But what they're making an excuse is the point, okay? The wishy-washiness is the excuse. I mean, is the result of the excuse. And you say, well, Hawkeye, what do you mean by that? Well, if they would just ponder for a moment and not expecting something new to arrive every 2 or 3 weeks, days, months, you know, some of these things takes years to learn, and you cannot push it, no matter how you can try, you know. And I've done some stupid, dumb, and clumsy things in my lifetime that have taught me lessons, but it was 10 years later or 15 years later or 30 years later that I realized what that lesson actually means. So people are having things happen to them all the time. They're not paying attention to the signs that are around them. They're not paying attention to the information that they have received from many different areas, many different speakers. It's been related in different terminologies for them to be able to understand. But they, 2 or 3 years later, they're still fumbling in the dark. Now, I ask myself, well, why? Why are these people stumbling around? Well, because they're making it up. Somehow they're making an excuse as to why they can't pursue something. Now, I did a video about it back in 2013 or something. I don't know, maybe sooner than that. No, it wasn't, because 2013 is when I started my channel. So, but anyway, 8 years now. It was in October, I think. And thank you all for being a part of this channel. I love you all, I do. So I look back on myself and think, I made excuses for why I couldn't understand something. So I made up my mind after a visitation, after some heavy duty prayer, after coming off of medications and changed lifestyles, having seizures for a month, like every 15 or 20 minutes I was having a seizure. It was nasty. So when I come out the other side, though, I realized that, oh my God, I survived this. I had no idea because my mind was blank from all the seizure activity. So in trying to reconstruct that, you have to have patience. But in the spiritualness of it all, I realized that when I looked in the mirror and said, I am a warrior, I am a spiritual warrior. I am telling the universe, and I've said this before, that I am pledging my energy, my light, my whatever, as a warrior for Christ. Okay. And I make no bones about it. I don't talk about it all the time because it's, once I said it, is sort of there. It kind of should be obvious. But in that my idea of what the Christ energy and the reincarnation of that said energy, etc., is much different than all the churchgoers and most other Christians. Well, a lot of Christians. Let me just, not most, but a lot. But because people are changing their minds. So, but in and of that, I said, I am a warrior. I dedicate the rest of my life towards working towards, enlightening people, having discussions, and whatever's needed of me, right? So for the last 5 days, I've been getting kicked to do this this video about excuses. And I kind of thought it was funny because I kept making excuses. Okay. So, which I just thought was ironic, still kind of do. But with that said, the excuses that people will do is like, well, it's so hard to do that internal work. Well, I bitch about my not being able to, quit smoking. Well, like, because I haven't really made up my mind yet. But a friend of mine was here yesterday and we were visiting. And I said, I was, um, um, his son was drinking a beer that I hadn't seen in a while. And we were commiserating and, and stuff. And I said, that's one thing. I said, I'm so glad that I gave up drinking. And I mean, I used to swim in this stuff, okay? And I've got a bottle of gin over there that's a fifth. I got a small bottle of Boodles, and I've got two pints of Jack Daniels that have not been opened. And there's some, you know, uh, blackberry. It's not a cordial anyway, like a brandy. Okay. And so, and I said, I'm so glad that I had made up my mind back then to quit drinking. Now, I don't see if somebody else wants to have a drink or whatever, but I realize how much money and time and Lord knows what it did to my body. But I gave it up long enough to go because it's, going on 20 years that I gave up drinking. Um, and I feel better for it. I'm proud that I did, you know? And so, but I had to make, it was a hard decision and a tough one. I had to give up some other things. I made the choice. And so, was it hard? Was it difficult? Did I have withdrawals and so forth? You betcha. Okay. But if you make up your mind, now, an interesting thing that was pointed out the other day, and this has to do with looking in the mirror and stop making excuses. Um, and whatever it is, well, I forgot, I got busy today, whatever it is, people are making excuses. Okay. um I guess the universe is trying to tell people, I'm trying to listen what they're having to say, that it's also about being honest. Because there were times when I said, that for myself now, I dedicate my life, and I've always had a firm belief in Christ. So, you know, and several other things. But so, I've never lost my faith in that. I have wandered from my faith, but I never lost it. Okay. It was always there, even in my darkest moments, but I kept making the excuses to why I couldn't do whatever it was I was doing. And so, but the real starting point was when I said myself, and I do think there's a video that I openly say that I am dedicating the rest of my life to be a warrior for Christ, a spiritual warrior from here on out, right? And I was going to dedicate time and effort and so forth, right? So, and after that, um, I kind of had to swim in the statement that I made to myself as well as to the world, kind of thing, to the universe. And I realized that, wait a minute, this is hard. Yeah, at first it is. And, it means you're going to have to pay more attention to this over here, quit jumping down rabbit hole. I mean, a lot of lessons have been learned. So, in the wisdom of that from the universe, is I look back on it and go, Lord, have mercy, the excuses I made to myself and to the universe, basically, because I can't help anybody to achieve spiritual awareness. I cannot help any one of you out there unless you're willing to change yourself. So, you know, back in the day, I'm remembering a friend of mine who we I allowed him, which was supposed to be sort of just a personal thing between the shaman and myself in a sweat lodge. I asked my friend John um, gay man, been my friend for years. No, no hanky panky. But um, the idea, though, that John was very strict into the Bible, so much so that he couldn't get his mind out of the Bible to do anything else. He was so conflicted, and as a gay man in the Bible, but God loves all his children, but he wants to persecute us who are gay. Long story. So I wanted him to just have the experience because I'd been in a sweat lodge before, and I wanted him to have the experience of the natural um, spirituality in a natural form. Just, there were prayers that we sung, but it was, for healing. The prayers that we sang, I guess would be the proper term. Sing, sang, sung, anyway. But the idea, though, that and it changed him for a little while, but then he went right back into it. And so he had asked me, we had lots of conversations on the subject. And he'd asked me, he was like, why would you go this way? And I said, because I've learned, I have lineage with Native Americans. And as a young boy, before anybody taught me anything, I had this connection, and then I told him about, my uh, second meeting with Mother Mary, if you will, out in that clearing down there in the neighborhood. I think a house sits on it now, but the idea, though, that it was like, so why am I not believing in the Bible more? Because I had these visions or visitations from Mother Mary. Why wouldn't I be like hanging in there with the Bible, just really strong and really tough? Yeah, no, because I see Mother Mary as a figure, and now in the church it was all that, but it's the mother in nature. Now it's the goddess, if you will, and so it's not just her as an icon in the Catholic Church or whatever, or the mother of Jesus. It's the idea that she represents the mother in the universe. Okay, it's there's so much more symbology to me, and having nothing to do with the statue, mind you. But we will make excuses as to why, well, we can't accept this or that. Well, I need to talk to the goddess. And why doesn't goddess talk to me? Um, could it be that you're asking, you've already been given answers, but you're not being honest with yourself? This goes back to a conversation I had with somebody several years ago. And I was like, if you've had, Mother Mary comes in, I go, yeah, I can tell it's her essence when she sends me a message or when the message needs to go out, right? And so I can tell if Brian's in the room, for example. Do I see them or no? I feel this presence, this essence. Now, Mother Mary's got other things to do than to hang out with me. And the fact that she has been here at all, or, sends me messages once in a while with her essence, I feel, elated, grateful, and, humbled by that. But a lot of the, messages from the universe are, you just have to pay attention to your own spirit guide. So a lot of folks I have noticed that they're still looking for like guidance, but they're not really paying attention to their own spirit guide. And so in that, they're making up excuses. Well, so if I had the opportunity to ask somebody, it would be, well, why are you still pursuing this? Why are you still seeking this answer when you're not listening to your own higher self? Well, I heard about, blah, blah, blah on another channel, and they was talking about these things and how we need to do this and this. And I was like, do you absolutely understand how much energy it requires to do that? Well, it's, why don't you just sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Why do you have to create some other kind of thing with a magic spell or a sigil that is absolutely like, okay, gonna say it, asinine? Because you're gonna spend all this energy trying to build something to, that you want to release. Wait a minute. Why don't you just look in the mirror and go, out of here? I don't like this part of my personality. Out of here. But the thing is, people, they fall right back into it. Why? Because they won't give it up. They won't be honest enough with themselves. They keep making up an excuse. Well, you're still cursing a lot. You're using the F word every 2 or 3 words. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're picking on people. You're creating a commotion. And at the same time, though, you want to turn around and say, but I'm looking for spiritual enlightenment. No, you're not. You have this concept in your head of what it is. But there's all of these distractions around you. And I don't necessarily mean you in particular, but around the populace you, that it boils down to say you're going to do it, honor yourself, if not the universe, in the promise that you made. Why won't you tell me what she says? What was that promise that she made? Anyway, I'm gonna love you till the. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. Is Michelle in the house? Hey, Mother Nature, how are you? Blessings to you. You don't need a scapegoat anymore. Hey, Barry, Ian, hi again. Blessings. Delaney, hi, Delaney, how are you? And Zed, need 3-part harmony. Yep. It's the Doors. Jim Morrison, there you go. Till the heavens stop the rain, I'm gonna love you till the stars fall from the sky. For you and I. Thank you, Mother Nature. And so are you. Keep up the good work. We all have a lot to do in this. And, the idea, though, that excuses, and I'm sure there'll be somebody out there that'll go like, they'll make an excuse why this topic is like irrelevant to them, or, well, this doesn't really apply to me. Maybe it should, you know what I mean? Because those are the people who are avoiding things. And if they're avoiding something, that means they're making an excuse as to why not to do it. And I'm looking for excuses like to do something. I looked at the weather, and it's supposed to start drizzling rain tomorrow afternoon. After all these, it was great to see the backyard full of water, but it was not completely flooded. Although, I had 14 acres that maybe 12 of it was underwater, seriously. And the creek out of its banks, and it was great. It used to happen 2-3 times a year, and now it happens like once every 2 years, maybe. So it did flood almost this much once last year. But, 4 or 5 days in to 2021, we've got lots of water in the backyard. That's good news. We need to replenish the groundwater. So, but anyway, excuses. I wanted to go in my kayak down there, and my excuse was, but the water's cold. And I was like, oh. But in my excuse about, not going down here and floating around, it's also a little dangerous because there's a lot of things that float downstream that wasn't in my yard a day ago is now in my yard, or maybe in the neighbor's now because of the river flowing by. But anyway, but making excuses and sticking with what you do. So people say, well, I don't know. I want to do this thing, but then you don't really want to do it. And we got to, folks have got to stop this nonsense. If you really want to do it, then do it. But quit just talking about it. Well, I don't know. It's so hard. Listen, it's hard on all of us. We all have lessons that we've learned. I mean, I was talking with my friends who were here the other day, and I was out splitting wood and bitching about my back. And I got a big armload of wood, right? And I'm carrying it in the house. And one lady asked me, she goes, "Oh, I'll be 57 here shortly." And I just can't believe. She goes, "You're only a couple of years older than me, right, Dave?" And I was like, "No, I'm 11 years older than you." What? So I was like, "Yeah, look how strong I am and everything out there splitting wood, right?" And she was like, they were all standing there going, "Honest to God, you're 68?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know." Uh, and I bitch because, I make too many excuses. But if it gets cold enough, I'm going to split firewood. I'm going to cut some up. But anyway, I almost went in the water with the kayak. And then when I decided to go down there, the water was too low. And that really is an excuse. But spiritually, though, if you say, um, I want to learn to be more in touch with nature. Okay, Mother Nature, wink, wink, nod, nod. So we say we want to become more in tune. Okay, so what are you going to do? Well, I just am. Okay, then when have you done the simple exercise that many of us talked about? But I've given instructions on in several videos about how to have how to sit with a tree. And pine trees are different than oak trees, and oak trees are different than, um, cedar. And we have, a lot of cypress down here, not in my backyard, but a lot of cypress down here in these swamps. Um, Not overly like Louisiana, but so, and being down in the cypress swamp, those they're I don't know, there's just something about them. Okay. And so, but cypress are usually standing in water, so it's a little difficult to lean up against one. Although you can park your kayak and kind of hug one. I've done that several times. But anyway, um, people say, well, so all right. So I have asked a person or two it's 9 months ago. Then when was the last time you went out and sat under a tree? Well, I try to go down to the local park, and and all I heard was excuse after excuse after excuse. And I was like, listen, do you want to do this or not? Well, then can you find a tree? Yes. Can you go sit under it? Well, yes or no. Well, if you can't sit under it, then go find one you can. Well, but if it's in the park and there's the dogs and there's can you find a tree to go sit under? Yes or no? Oh, they gave me so many excuses. And I was like, this conversation is over. And they were like, well, what do you mean? And I said, for the last 10 minutes, and that's about how long it took, you gave me nothing but excuses about how you can't do this. And I'm like, and I'm trying to convince you there are ways. But whatever it is that's keeping you from that, you keep making excuses on how not to do it. So folks want to change things, but they don't want to do the work, So I could talk about this soul work, and I could talk about, we have all this darkness we have to get rid of. Well, here's the thing: to get rid of some of this darkness, you have to participate in the now. Okay. You have to, I mixed 3 bags of cement, and I went out there today when I found out it was going to rain. And I was like, I got to pour the rest of this footer. I've got to get it down to the end of where it's dug, because my kitchen was flooded the other day, and it's going to rain some more. Now, it's not supposed to be so much, but it will fill up full of water. It will delay me even further in trying to get the porch done, et cetera, et cetera. And I already have the concrete. So as much as I really didn't want to do that today, I mixed concrete along with some other things. But to the point, though, it was like I kept making up excuses. Now, yesterday there was still water in the bottom of the trench. Today it was just a little bit of mud. Okay, so I could do it today. Yesterday I just said, but and me and dog were, hiding and running and jumping and whatever. I will call them back. Um, but so in spirituality, though, I want to go back and I want to go back down to the river, and me and Duggar need to get in because I need water, right? I need to be with the water. So I went down and sort of waded in the water in my backyard. And I was like, well, that's close, but I'm still making excuses. Well, Duggar's not used to the kayak. And he really is big, me and him sitting in that thing together. It's tight. So, but I'm making excuses why I shouldn't go, or oh, that's too much trouble. No, come on, we should have already been. Well, now it's flooded. You can't even get down to the road to get to the river. But anyway, the rivers come up the road. So, but that's not an excuse. But I realize in looking at some of my own, excuses for why haven't you done this, or why didn't you go over there and do that, or blah 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 blah. It's because I kept finding excuses to do it. So you want to become more spiritual, then set a goal. I'm going to go sit under a tree, or I'm going to practice like I've explained to folks. You want to practice your sleepwalking, or astral projection, or I've given detailed instructions on how to lay in a room, practice. You get up, you go into the next room, and you look around, and then you go back in and you sit back down or lay back down or whatever. And then you will learn how to just, your spirit will go up, will walk into the next room, and you practice that. And then when you get more comfortable, you can, you'll learn how to astral project out into the backyard or the front or something like that. So, but people are, well, I'm having trouble with this astral project, and I'm having these weird things. And well, let me ask you a simple thing. Did you start at the beginning? Well, what has that got to do with it? Did you start at the beginning? Well, but so did you start at the beginning? Yes or no? Or did you feel like, you jumped off a cliff into a great big, pile of water, and that you feel like you're floundering and about to drown? Well, some of us have felt that way. Okay. But in order to learn how to swim, you don't jump off another high cliff and into, 50 feet of water. No, you go over to the beach or the lake or the pool. Then you go in the shallow end and you learn how to swim there. And then you go for the high dive at the deep end of the pool. That's the way we're supposed to do it. Now, I was listening to some folks and talking about the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and how we're all supposed to just jump right into the fifth dimension. We can't. All right. Just keep that in mind. So, but you can practice your fourth dimensional things by becoming more spiritual with yourself. And the simplest way to do it is to allow yourself to become one with nature. Figure it out. If you don't make the journey, you'll never learn anything. And so this comment was made by someone I've watched for a while now. And he said, there's folks that, they want Goddess to show them what's coming. They want Goddess to do this for them. And Goddess is supposed to do that for them. And they, and it's like, but have any of these people started the basic lessons? Have any of these folks who are asking for Goddess? Now, I got visited, not necessarily by asking, but, like, Dave, here I am, pay attention. Holy crap. Yeah. But the idea, though, that people just aren't paying attention to what's already inside them. They keep seeking that other answer. Well, let me read this book over here. Okay. Can you just sit down and, honest to God, meditate on what you've learned? Take a book you've already read and you think that there's something in there that's like really important, and say, okay, to my higher self. Oh, wait a minute. You don't know how to talk to your higher self because you haven't tried to do those things like hunt, hide and seek and hunt and find kind of thing. That I've described to folks about how to learn how to make sure it's your spirit guide that's even talking to you. Well, I'm sure of mine. Are you certain? And they told you to do what? I just have to back away and go, okay, if you're sure that's your spirit guide telling you that, I'm just going to go, okay, I'm going to take it maybe 10 steps back, depending on what it is. But they go, well, how come I'm having trouble? You're not that. I don't believe that was your spirit guide telling you whatever it is you're convinced now is supposed to be the truth. And, since then, some of these folks have like, I don't know, kind of went full circle and come back around. But they keep looking for the same answer in the same parable. They keep reading the same passage in the Bible that somehow is miraculously going to save them. It's going, and wait a minute, are the words going to save you? Is the book going to save you? What's going to save you is you paying attention to what the words mean or could mean or what they might signify. And a little while back, I did a card reading for somebody, and I pointed out, I was like, you see this card here? Yeah, that's telling you. And then 20 minutes later, they asked a question of me, and I said, see this card? Remember what it said? It's telling you. Well, I just don't know. But you told me you understood what the card meant. And I read a portion of it again, which Spirit was telling me, let these people know this is what they should focus on. And they kept getting distracted, going over here, kept getting distracted and going over here. And I was like, I don't mind doing a card reading for somebody or pulling a card for somebody. But then 2 hours later, they're like asking the same question. And I'm going, never mind. Politely, never mind. After having gone through the discussion 3 or 4 times about what the cards meant, and they just right back around and like, well, but I still don't. Okay, you don't understand. Then what you do need to understand is you need to go sit under a tree and think about what's already been said. Now, I know for myself, because of all these books and things that I've read over the years, and I have a library of stuff, right? I have forgotten more than I can remember. But there are things that just stick with you, right? And so even having gotten conked in the head and having all those seizures, some of these electrons and everything are opening up memories, which had been, I guess you could say they were electrically locked because of the neurons in my brain that had gotten zapped, right? So, and so by allowing myself to not think about anything, just allow them neurons, my picture is if I close my eyes, what's the fireworks look like inside my brain? If I was to like picture it in my mind's eye, what would all that where would all those neurons be firing? And I've been smacked over my left eye a bunch. And so it's like whatever's in there, I send Bob the Builder in there to repair it. But here's the deal. I realize that I make excuses sometimes because I get distracted from the subject. So if you want to be more spiritual, you want to make a difference in your own spirituality, then for goodness sake, putting your faith in a book, putting your faith in a guru, I love you all, but I'm just here to have a conversation. But if you're looking for, a pastor, if you're looking for, Buddha, it's not in who we are or what we are. It's that it's an eternal message that we keep discussing. Buddha in his way, Christ in his way, all these people down through the years have discussed this in their own way to try to get it across to other people. But if other people don't do the work, if other people keep making up excuses. And in the one, I think it's James or something, I did a video on it about a year or two ago. And I read it out of the Bible. I read the whole chapter. And this, man comes up to Jesus and he's look, I give all this money away to my servants and people, and I have houses. And he says, so what else can I do? And Jesus says, give away all your belongings and follow me. And the guy was like, but I have all this stuff. And Jesus was like, but that you asked me what you wanted, what was needed. And so the guy turned around and walked away disgruntled. He thought he was doing now to the point, Christ might have been a little blunt with him on that one. But the idea, though, that here was this guy that was making excuses, right? Well, I've got all this property, but I allow my and I paid my servants well. And but well, what can I do to follow you and give away all your possessions and follow me? Can't do that, right? Distractions, right? What we hold dear to us. So he kept, the guy in the Bible, the verse, he was making excuses as to why he couldn't do it, but he went to see Jesus, have a conversation with him, and then was disgruntled by the answer, So there are people who have already received this answer a bunch of times, but for whatever their excuse in listening or not paying attention or not getting it or whatever it is, the only way to get to that answer is to sit down and allow it, instead of asking, well, why don't I understand this? Okay, why don't you say to the universe, I wish for you to explain this to me better. Well, why can't I understand this? Because you keep asking questions. Okay, make a statement to the universe. I wish to know more about this. I am confused about this. Enlighten me, please. Now, also with the divine, okay? The divine is listening. So people who want these things to be manifested to their liking, what are you doing for the universe today? Well, I want to manifest to this. Yeah, but what did you do for the universe? Did you say any prayers? Did you help anybody? What did you do for the universe? Well, it doesn't matter about, but I need, the universe is going to give me this. Why? Well, I deserve it. Why? Well, because it's out there. Yeah, and you think you deserve it. Why? Just simply because you're a being? Why don't you put forth an effort and show the universe that you're trying? Instead of, well, I'm going to manifest all this stuff. Well, where's your work? Well, I don't, I've read this book. But no. You read this book. Okay, bullshit. Now, did you do any of the work? Well, I haven't really had a chance. I read 4 chapters. And did you do any of the work? Excuse. So they want the universe to provide them something when actually it's yin and yang. It's a give and take. So if you continue to take from or expect that you can just take from the universe, whoops, you're not understanding the whole concept of this thing. So when you give without exception and without any type of expectation of something coming back to you in this universe, that's when the divine speaks to you. And I've had chats with folks that are going, here recently, and I don't mean here recently, now recently, but in the past they would say, recently I've had this really good stretch of good luck. And I ask, well, so what'd you do different? Well, I've really been trying to have a better positive energy. And I used to have a lot of arguments with my dad, and I made up my mind, because me and this person had have a conversation. I was like, for whatever it is, you gotta, for your own sanity. When my mom, adopted mom, was dying, I tried my best to like settle stuff before she passed, and didn't work. It's like, but for myself, I can absolutely honestly say I made every effort. I lost my job over it because I wanted to spend time with her at the hospital during her last. Actually, it ended up being the last 10 days of her life. I was there for 7 of it because when I got back up here to Georgia, she died just several days later, and I had to turn around and go back. But in that, though, I knew if I hadn't made the effort, I would have felt guilty the rest of my life. So you make the effort, and by making the effort, I lost a really good paying job and seniority anyway. I could still be working there and probably be bored to death. But anyway, the idea, though, that you have to make the effort. And even if it's just personally, you have to make the effort. And Creator, the universe is watching you. So if you say, well, I really tried this, in the back of your mind, you ain't, you've hedged. You were going to, well, and you made up this little story and there was an excuse in there. And then all of a sudden you go, well, you're trying to understand why you're not really connected to your spirit guide when you've lied to yourself, you lied to your spirit guide, and it doesn't, maybe you lied to somebody else too. But in that, this lying to yourself, making up an excuse, you got to see past it. You must take control of your life in that respect. We may not have any control. I voted yesterday here in Georgia. And on the way down there and back, and I thought, this ain't going to do any good, because did they fix the freaking issue with the machines since the election? Or did they fix the machines better so they could cheat us better? And I say that because, there's wasn't one Biden Ossoff, what you call it, anywhere down here in the South. Oh, but they both won by over 50, barely 50%. So they learned in the general election to not overstuff them because they got caught. So this time, I don't even want to go there. So, but to the point though, so who do we trust anymore? Who's doing what, right? I can't, I went and did my civic duty yesterday and voted. I filled out the thing. I did the thing. I did it right. It's up to other folks though. Now, I know what I did and I'm confident of what I did. Okay. And of what those other folks were doing yesterday in our neighborhood. But if it doesn't turn out the way, we like, we still have ourselves. We're still neighbors around here. You know what I mean? We still live here in South Georgia. We still, regardless of what the other is. So you still have to focus on your own home, your own house. Regardless of the election, I gotta fix my kitchen because it floods when it rains real hard. And it's irritating. I'm getting too old for this, So, but in that, we make excuses as to how or why we can't do something or why somebody else is affecting us. When I did my job, I did my civic duty, and I'm a clear conscious about it. I'm not happy with the results. I wasn't happy with the other, but what are you going to do, right? So, but am I going to pine about it? Am I going to argue and just get all upset? No. I poured cement today and cut firewood and brought wood in because I decided that for all this stuff that was going on, I needed to pull myself. I've done my civic duty, but I have to pull myself out of the situation because it could very well easily be. Lord, it's active in here tonight. Making excuses to why I didn't get in firewood or why I didn't go out and play with the dog or, you know what I'm saying? So, well, it was, I was watching election results. Now, I did do some of that today, but at the same time, I told myself, I cannot be, this isn't going to help me pour concrete or finish my porch or fix the leak or do anything that has to do with what I need to do here, what I need to do at my house, and, to be safe and to be as much flood free as possible, right? Versus worrying about all these other things and not getting what needs to be done at home, right? And home is in here. So, with all the distractions and oh my God, it's been an hour. Hey, Cherry, Mossy Man, Delaney, uh, it's good to see you all here. And Ian, Ice Station, okay. So, but anyway, I just, for part of my job and the fact that they were kicking my butt to have this conversation, I think I pretty well covered, what my topic for this, actually, it was their topic. But, and the only person we have to blame is ourselves. And which goes into a whole nother thing. So, if we keep making excuses, um, um, my brothers have suffered with being overweight for a long time, compulsive eater, and it's nothing new, and he suffered with it for a long time. There for a couple of years, I matched him bite for bite and was 250 pounds, and which was 100 pounds overweight. Trust me. So I had to look in the mirror one day. He stayed the same, and I said, this ain't happening. So I'm back down about 100 to 165 pounds, which is a good normal weight for me. But in that, though, I had to say no. I had to make up my mind. And I didn't do anything super duper. I just quit eating so damn much. I quit eating so many sugars. And I just did simple things. And I started walking again. And not a lot, but, walk, I've got a decent sized yard. So walking up to the driveway to get mail and back and around, take a little side trip around, you've almost walked at least a half a mile, so which is easy. And I'm walking through the yard and seeing what's there, blah, 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 doing a little walkabout, right? So you do that once or twice a day and make sure that you do it. Like today, I didn't figure there'd be much mail, but off I went up to the driveway with Duggar so we could take a walk, right? More so for me to get the exercise. It's like, yes, I'm 68 and climbing, or whatever. And this fourth dimension, since I was thinking about time, there were some folks that were talking about the fourth dimension, and they said, the fourth dimension is time. And I went, what? The fourth dimension is time, whether there is or isn't. And I did a video not too long ago, and I talked about the null time, the null space, and that, just you're just in a bubble and nothing's going on. Literally, nothing's going on. Although you're in the bubble and you're in the bubble, but as far as time itself goes, you stopped. So you have this time in the null time, but what are you learning? That's also the dream time. That's also kind of sort of connected with your astral self, your spiritual self. But if you don't allow yourself to even contemplate it, and you must take time to do it. Well, I don't know. We got, I was going to meditate. Me and the kids sat and watched a movie. There ain't nothing wrong with watching a movie, but then don't turn around and bitch because you didn't, you don't feel like you have progressed in your spiritualness. You got to do the work. You must do it. Now, when the universe sees that you're trying to do it, that's when the universe will help you. Okay. By putting forth the effort, the divine hears that. But sitting and complaining about it, you're basically in the null time. There's things going on around you and this and that's going on. And you go, well, how come I'm not getting anything from the universe? What have you tried to put into it? For yourself. I don't mean that you have to go out and start a food bank and all this stuff. No, and that ain't got nothing to do with it. Now, it may help, but no, it's what you're doing for the universe through yourself, through your contemplations, through your prayers, through your actions with others. Are you talking with folks in a negative way or are you bitching everybody out? How's your tone of voice? Are you being neighborly when it's really a struggle to do so? Then maybe the that you're making an effort. You see, people are like, well, I bitch this person pissed me off, and I just tore him a new one. See, you're not learning, then, are you? Well, what do you mean? You tore him a new one. Well, yeah, they deserved it. No, they didn't. You just had your hackles up. And, it was like I was joking with this lady in the store the other day. And I said, I'm a curmudgeon. I can be a curmudgeon. I want, I have earned it as a right, as a personal, to be a curmudgeon and, to be cantankerous at times, by God, all old people, we've deserved a fucking right to be cantankerous. I mean, and I was laughing about it, and I said, "But I don't really want to be, but I have earned the right, That's what's important. And as long as I know that I've earned the right to be cantankerous when I want to be, but I also know, but I'm going to be cantankerous, and it's kind of sort of going to be a joke, but it allows me to let off some steam, right? But that's not. How I want to be. Hey, Teresa. Um, so." But in this grandiose thing where we live in this universe, what are you putting forth into the universe? It's like my higher self said, I love to use the word fuck a lot. And GD and man, listen, I grew up on a carnival where we made whole sentences and paragraphs out of curse words. Okay. And in my understanding about the universe a couple of years ago, they said, if you want the universe to listen to you and to be serious, then you got to cut this cursing out. And I was like, bullshit. And they were like, because what do you wish to present to the universe? Well, but I can swear if I want to. I can cuss anytime, anywhere if I want to. But here's the thing. Am I honoring the divine? Am I honoring the universe by my excessive cussing, swearing, and I mean, boy, I could do it, let me tell you. And the answer was, do you want to grow spiritually, or do you want to be able to reserve your right to say what you want, when you want, however you want, and screw everybody else? And the answer was no. You can't do that. But now, I will cuss once in a while, but I really tried. There's a whole new universe out there. Now, if I'm around the house and a couple of, slang words, this and that, but to be able to present it to the universe and to other people, yes, I have the right. Sure, I can say it if I want to, but is it necessary or is it appropriate? Because if someone else stumbles upon this video, even though it says it's not for children, I don't want to, get people upset because I'm using curse words all the time. I would like for them to at least listen for a little bit or something without being, well, all he's doing is cursing. It's not necessary, right? Although I have the right, and although I can say what, what I'm saying. And for example, people that, get their channels and stuff, what they put in the title is like open warfare. Bob's cousin, by the way, Bob, hi, we love you out there, the AI. You put stuff in the title and then they wonder why the video gets took down, Now, I will have discussions, but I try to keep it by not writing it down so the algorithms see what's going on. You see, toss in something in between a few lines and go, what the hell was he talking about? Never mind, you know. So Bob's cousin, you know, he's like looking at my videos going, I don't know what you talking about there, Fred. You know, Bob, help me with this. This guy's gone crazy again, you know. Okay. You know, Gertrude and Heathcliff, you know, old Red Skelton. He was a master, let me tell you. But anyway, uh, the explosive, what language has frequency, absolutely. Cursing and all that carries low. Yeah, it's explosive, absolutely. You know, so, but in all of this, though, but it was my choice to make the decision to curb my language. The universe said, you know, you'll get along better if you do that. And when I smack my finger in things anymore, and by the way, since I quit cursing as much, I haven't smacked my finger as much. Just saying. What? Yeah. I was all the time. Now I still do, and I go, son of a bitch, you know. But I'd let one roll if I had a splinter. Of course, some of these splinters are really big and down to the bone. But anyway, to the point though, and actually, there's a thing that was on the swear words. They actually did a thing that if you had your hand in really cold ice water, that when it got so hard that you wanted to pull your hand out, they found out that if you cursed, that you could hold your hand in the water longer. Interesting. Interesting. Um, I know that if I've been in cold water and you know, besides wanting to pee a lot or, doing the little pee pee dance to help keep warm, you know, anyway. So I've kept you for an hour and 11 minutes. And it's time to just say adios for now. And boy, do I lose it sometimes. Yeah. I just do my best just not to do it. Now, if I'm around some old friends and we're sitting around cutting the shit, you know, it's just like, blah, 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 you know, we're just, you know, it's social, whatever. But I'm not really trying to, you know, put anything out there into the universe. But anyway, here's the thing though. So, but when we make those conscious efforts to the universe and the divine senses it, sees that we're really trying to make an effort. So if you say, well, it doesn't really matter, yes, it does. Mother Nature, we love you. Keep up the good work. I'm out of here too. I got to put wood on the fire, but I just wanted to say hi to everybody and keep up the good work. So 9:24 in the evening, that's my birth date, 9:24. So I'm going to end this stream here, and I continue to pray for each and every single one of you because it's every day, it's a chore. Every day we have to work on this. But when we learn to accept, listen, I'm going to cut my smoking down. I'm going to quit cursing as much. And you keep your promise to yourself, you're keeping a promise to the universe. And it will help you to get spiritually closer to yourself and to the universe. So, excuses, excuses. It's all up to you. Stop making excuses and start working on it. Just show the universe that you're trying, and mean it. No half-ass stuff, because they'll see right through that stuff too. So I love you. I do. Thank you. Thank you. This, what is it? When it's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, I voted yesterday. A lot of good it did. Not one person that I have talked to. Well, actually, one person. They said they weren't going to vote for Loeffler, but that they weren't going to vote for the other guy. They just weren't going to vote. Abstain. And, I cannot imagine what that crazy guy's going to do. Oh my God. And I don't want to move out of Georgia. You know what I mean? Now, let me say this. There are some folks up there around his way and in North Georgia. a few of them down here in the South. If he gets too rowdy, they'll put a hurting on that boy. Now, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but if there's some folks that had hurt him, just saying, and with all the tension and everything that's going on, they'd do it, I believe. Hey, Al, okay, all fueled up, off duty, and full of excuses. Conversely, though, I do better after sleep. That was an excuse. Yeah, I used to truck a lot too. So stay safe. I know y'all up north got some nasty weather and some more is supposed to be coming. So be safe, everybody. I continue to pray, I really do, each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. Each and every day when I step foot on Mother Earth, I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and those blessings from the universe. Quit making excuses. And in that law of three that really works in comedy, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive and share the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings of the universe. Keep up the good work, my friends. Mother Nature, cheers, my friends. Give your neighbors a hug. Keep up the good work, and y'all stay warm. I'm going to go put my fire back on and get some more firewood. Have a good evening, all. Till later. Bye, y'all. TTFN from South Georgia at 9:28 p.m. Adios, my friends. We say ween and gratitude. And peace out, y'all. Bye. Bye.